Dear Governor Soludo, I have always resisted the urge to take you up on things you failed to do or did wrongly. I thought we should stand aside and watch, especially as I don't think taking advice is one of your greatest strengths. And therefore, by speaking up, I may even be blamed for your distractions. So I wanted the Anambra to have a good feel. Let them feel your governance for the first half of your entire tenure. I believe now is the best time to hold you accountable by asking some basic questions. How have you fared your first 2 years? Especially when it comes to very important sectors like security, like economy, transportation including roads, education, health, all the human capital development indices, agriculture, and many more. How have you managed those very critical institutions that define us, like civil service, traditional institutions, religious institutions, trade unions, town unions, etc.? How have you improved on important cities like Onitsha, Obaru, Nnewi, Awka, Nkpor, Obosi, Ekwulobia, the Omambala axis? How have you fared in other important areas that will improve the lives of our youngsters, our women, like sports, technology, entertainment, tourism, etc.? I am certainly not impressed, and I believe I speak the mind of the Anambra, especially after conducting polls across the 21 local governments. When it comes to security, this is the very primary role of government and most important need of the Anambra. How do we end the killings, the kidnappings, the destruction of houses and palaces? In recent times, let me remind you, we witnessed this in Agwata, your home local government, in Orumba, in many parts of Ihiala, from Lilo to Mbosi to Osumoru to Iseke, in Nnewi South like Amici and Opo, Nnewi North, etc. Go to the Anambra North, Obaru, Onitsha, go to Central, Awka, and many more places, and therefore ask, where is safe in Anambra? Where can you, the governor, go without your litany of security aids? We must tell ourselves the truth, and this is not to lament about the problem. It's also to point you in the right direction. We don't discuss security obviously in the open, but we had situations like this in the past. The P2B solved it. How did he achieve it? How did he engage the traditional institutions and security agencies in solving these problems? Go to Abian and ask Alex Oti how kidnappings have almost ended there. Learn what you need to do as a state, the people you need to bring together to solve the problems. How do you align also with other state governors within the Southeast region? And what do you need to do to earn more confidence and trust from the center? I don't want to say more than this for now. On economy, our young talents are migrating abroad, taking the jackpot roads, and our businesses are also finding homes elsewhere, in Enugu, in Asaba, in Aba, forcing me to ask a pertinent question: why? What have you done to turn the tide and improve Anambra's competitiveness and make Anambra more attractive? You don't force people, you earn their confidence to be in Anambra State. How do we deal with poverty ravaging our state? How do we solve the power problem and create more embedded areas where we can deal with the issue of power generation and power distribution in situ in Anambra State, just like what Alex Oti is doing? How do we solve the security problems and end the thuggery we are facing here? Let's talk about the roads. While we acknowledge that this is an important area, and I believe little contribution has been made by you, but this is also the easiest thing for governments to do. But there's nothing unique about doing few kilometers of road. Today, we should assess governance not by roads alone, but more creative things that will enhance prosperity. We need to be sure that the cost of soludo and sons is not even higher than using a jealous beggar. Some of the roads you brag about have been 60% done by your predecessors, but you sure know how to take glory and swallow all the thank you, and it's all right. Acknowledge your predecessors for their role in what you are doing. I do not want this video to be too long, and therefore I'll be speaking on each of these important sectors separately. So please get ready to be held accountable. In the Anambra, let's hold our governor accountable. This is a duty we have as citizens. We should all be desperate, like me, to see our state become better. Let me end this by asking that you realize government isn't a family business, nor a one-man show. We need critical stakeholders to be part of critical decision making. You cannot know it all, no matter how much you think you know. You need to stay humble and learn to listen to other views, including the opposing ones. This is how you can improve on your human relationships, which is key to governing Anambra well. If you continue like this, you dare not ask for second term. How much more deserve it? We don't reward failure. For you really to assess performance of a governor, it's important to look at the entire chain. But before I do this, I want to actually leave a caveat. This is really not about politics. There's a reason why I've waited for 2 years to speak out. I didn't want to be a distraction to what he was doing or be blamed for it. So basically, this is nothing personal. This is me being a good citizen that I want to be. And this is also me urging citizens to hold their government accountable. That's the only time we can push them to do more. When we are complacent, we become part of the problem. And I don't know how to emphasize this. Now, talking about Governor Soludo, it's not about effort, it's about outcome. It's not about rhetorics, it's about how you make people feel. If you really want to know how the Anambra is feeling today, go and ask. Today, yesterday actually, a story of kidnapping in Orumba North, Obu precisely, where, in fact, actually stormed the police station, destroyed police station, killed about 2 policemen. A few days before, they kidnapped the governor's advisor on pharmacy, together with another gentleman from Orumba North. This happened in Agota, his local government. Now, this is just a signpost about what's happening security-wise in his own local government. If you go around Anambra, if you ask anybody, what's the #1 need in Anambra today? It's security. Are we safe? We don't feel safe. You can speak all the grammar, you can say all the niceties, but the reality is what I'm painting.
But isn't the reality that he has, I mean, he is the chief security officer, yes, but he's got limited control over what actually happens in the state? Because, I mean, it's not unique to Anambra State, it's a general problem across Nigeria.
I agree, but guess what? We're not facing this for the first time. I also pointed that out. Sometime in the past, when Peter B was governor, we had worst case. How did we solve it? What did he do? He was just a governor, subnational level. There are a lot of things you can do. A few weeks ago, I sat down with Alex Oti in Abia State. How many times have you heard stories of kidnapping? What's the distance between Anambra and Abia State? Just to point to a fact, so you can show true leadership. He says to me, you can't conduct any kidnapping thing here and go free. Because I have people they've trained, they've empowered, and equipped that are doing the right thing. I don't discuss security in the open, but I'm saying to you, you can show leadership in that regard. And I pointed to a particular AIG who was in Zone 13, Anambra State, who I sat down with him and he said to me, for the past how many weeks, months he came into Anambra State, he hasn't had the opportunity of sitting down. Because I was asking him, don't you guys conduct security meetings on a regular, at least once a week, given the importance of security? Now, I'm just talking about security. Now, let's not go into the symptoms. I want us to understand where these things might have gone wrong so that we can, hopefully, if he listens, maybe can pick it up and get better. Let's go into the vision. What's the vision that he has? You hear this Dubai Taiwan thing that people are totally disconnected from. What is Dubai Taiwan? People actually now say, please abandon this, give us Abba, give us Ghana. No, seriously. Like so, number 2, leadership. Who in his cabinet believes in this vision that he's pursuing? Alone. If you come into such state like Anambra with such a Republican mind, and you don't have enough dose of emotional intelligence, you are bound to fail. Emotional intelligence means, number 1, you have to speak truth to yourself. You can't lie to yourself. You must be able to say, this is my strength, this is my weakness, and this is how to overcome my weakness. So if you think you're the smartest thing in the room, you're already failing from day 1. Number 2 is your respect and courtesy for a fellow human being. Every single part of Anambra life, there's one quarrel, one disharmony or another. From the religious institutions to the traditional rulers, to the civil servants, to the president generals, to the town unions, to the keke drivers, to the market women. There's one issue or another because there's not enough dose of emotional intelligence. And that also gives you what I call social awareness. So you know when to speak and when to listen. You can conduct a meeting and you're the only one speaking and then take another 5 minutes to do vote of thanks and salute your oratory skills and life goes on. I don't want to go into things that may appear personal, but the point is that leadership is lacking. And then you go into the issue of setting priorities right. Because when you understand the root causes, all these other things we're talking about, security, education, are the symptoms of that manifestation. If you can't set your priorities right, you are building a 10-story hotel in Anambra. Who tells you that's what we need now? And what makes you think it's government that must build it? Why can't you encourage, incentivize the private sector to get that done? So you can focus on the key priorities of government. And if you now go into the human capital indices, education first, how have we taken it further from where it was? Yes, we're doing well on that side, but there's a lot more we can do. And the healthcare, agriculture, I can go on and on. Right. The point is that I totally am not impressed. I'm not too surprised because really, if you haven't been a proper CEO, not a government advisor or a lecturer, that alone would equip you to get this job done.
Well, I mean, your critics and your political opponents and his supporters would say that you are sufficiently obsessed with your loss against Professor Soludo in the last Anambra governorship election to want to get some sort of payback against him after he defeated you. I mean, some have already cited the fact that other opposition people, like the APC former governor of the state, who wasn't in the APC then, but it was, former Minister of Labour, came out and delivered a speech at his 2-year anniversary in support of him, even though he's a member of the opposition, and that his popularity crosses those sort of political boundaries, but clearly not yours. That's what they would say.
I started by saying this to you, that if it was about that, then I should have started from day 1. I would have actually taken him to court after they declared that I wasn't the winner. I left him, called him that same day, said, congratulations. And I moved on. I never bothered calling him ever again. And thankfully, he didn't bother calling me. Of course, he doesn't take advice from anybody, so no problem. So I moved on. So if I had to wait for 2 years to make this type of remark, then you have to think differently. Clearly, that's not the case. I am worried about my state, where I go to all the time. I left Anambra today to get into Abuja to speak to you. And just the same day I spoke about how bad things are. One rain of the year has swept almost all the roads he has done in Anambra State, from Okbuku to Obaru, of course, opposing Obaru to Onitsha, to different parts of Anambra State. The same roads you saw him commissioning are gone. Who's going to account for this? And honestly, he has to find the money, because not the taxpayers' money is wasting. How can you build roads without consultants, without engineers? nothing to show quality assessment, nothing. You go into there and you're embarrassing your cabinet, your incompetence. Speak to deputy governor, the commissioner, like they're not human beings. Meanwhile, if you look deeper, he probably was responsible for the mess going around. My point here is, this is not a family business. This is our collective aspiration we're talking about. And worse still, when we have seen what our neighbor in Abia is doing, you have to come back and ask yourself, why Anambra should be doing far better than Abia State? Because we have far more to show for it. But that's not the case. You've done 2 years, another 9 months, and today, businesses are leaving Anambra to go to Abia, and people like us should keep quiet? No. Somebody has to speak up, and that's why I'm doing this.
So are you now unequivocally going to run for governor in the next election?
Well, the young ones have said if I don't run, they'll beat me up. So yes, I will. But I'll tell you this. It's really, really not about Valentine Ozigbo. It's really about let's get it right.
But will it be under the banner of the Labour Party? Because the last time you ran under the PDP. Labour
Party, I mean, that's the party to be. What I always do, I go back into doing a proper assessment. I did a poll recently. Simple questions. What do you think about Soludo's government? They didn't know who was polling. Damning evidence, damning, results. Okay, so if Soludo isn't good for second term, which party would you rather wish? Labour Party. In fact, who in Labour Party, I listed about 20 names and tucked my name in the middle. Overwhelmingly, Valentine Ozigbo. So Anambra people are yearning for proper leadership that I will provide.
So you are effectively firing the starting gun on the next governorship election in Anambra State. But you still obviously have to win the party primary, don't you?
Of course. As you know, this is not even a campaign season yet.
Yeah, it isn't yet.
What I'm simply doing is consulting, reaching out, engaging, and learning. There's a lot of learning to do. In fact, allow me to use your studio to request in the Anambra to begin now to call for memoranda. What would you like to see from your next governor? If we decide we want to make Onitsha a true commercial hub, what would you like us to do differently in Onitsha? Tell me now. Nnewi, if we decide to make it a true industrial hub, what would you like to see there? Omambalaxis, where we can actually do a lot of agricultural processing there, leveraging the airport there to do export, and that's what we massively need in Anambra today, in Nigeria. What would you like me to do there? What kind of engagement, partnership, private sector that we should attract in there? How do we solve your problem? Let's hear people speak so we can do their bidding. It's only when you do that, trust me, that they will feel they are part of this, and you will see the excitement in the air. And that's exactly what Alex Otti is doing in Abia State.
But you have to admit that after many years in office in Anambra State, the incumbent party, APGA, appears to be, stronger and seems to be able to absorb whatever the opposition throws at them.
Not really, not really. We know what happened in my election. I don't want to go in there because to belabor all the issues. The reality is that I can tell you this. I probably defeated Soludo in that election. So it's not about APGA thing. We know what happened. Now, go back to 2023 when we conducted other elections beyond presidential. Out of 11 House of Reps, Labour has 6 federal. Out of 3 senators, Labour has 2. And we also know what happened, that we are left with only 8 members in the House of Assembly. What I'm saying to you is that Labour Party is actually the party today.
Right. Well, let's go then beyond state politics. Correct. To the national level.
Yes.
You are or were until recently the the special advisor on technology and strategic alliances to Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. So you are close to him.
Yes.
Let's start by asking you whether you can address the reports that he's planning to go into some sort of political alliance. First of all, there are reports that he's returning to the PDP, and there's also reports that he might be going into a political alliance with the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, and may soon leave the Labour Party.
I'll tell you this. First is, I am not competent to speak on this because I have never been part of any such conversation. That's number one. Number two is, as far as I know, these are illusions and rhetorics and rumors that well far-fetched, because every single thing we've ever discussed has been about how to strengthen Labour Party. That's all I know. I also am aware that there are a lot of interests who are saying that for Labour Party to succeed in 2027, there has to be some alliance with some other parts of PDP, APC, NMPP, ADC, and all of that. So those are conversations that are happening at different levels. I'm not even aware that has gotten to a level that anybody can make any categorical statement. I think is foolhardy for anybody to go into such assertion. I will tell you this. Labour Party is the party, and if we're going to go into any alliance, we're going with Labour Party into that alliance. But there are sorts of people who are addressing that, and I am not a member of such committee, so I don't have enough information.
The Labour Party has to be a coherent, discernible force going into such an alliance. And I mean, up till just after the last general election, I mean, you mentioned this yourself, many Nigerians, particularly the youth, saw the Labour Party as the new master of Nigeria's political universe. But with all the terrible infighting that we've seen recently in the party, with the Labour Congress battling the chairman and another faction squabbling over the leadership of the party, I mean, no one would blame Peter Obi, or you for that matter, for wanting to leave the party. I mean, how did the so-called master of the Nigerian political universe fall so flat? I mean, what's going wrong there?
Using that word falling flat, maybe too presumptuous and exaggerated. I admit that we have some issues.
You got major issues.
The reason is because the tenure of the existing National Working Committee members is up. And so there's need for another convention where either they or some of them are returning or fresh people are coming on board. And in this type of season, we are bound to see this type of acrimony where people want to do things, hopefully, that would fit into their personal interests or collective interests, as the case may be. I'm aware that convention is fixed for tomorrow. How that plays out, I am not going to sit here and tell you. But I know there'll be sufficient time for us to deal with this internally and be able to come out stronger. I'm aware that the national leader, Peter Obi, is holding a lot of consultations with the key stakeholders, together with Governor Alex Oti. The senators, House of Reps members are all converging, discussing this. By hopefully, we will come out stronger. And in fact, all the faction that's been creating a lot of nuisance, maybe that will be now a thing of the past. So you never know. So it hasn't fallen flat. We're challenged, but we can overcome the challenge.
Okay, we've got just about a minute and a half left. Yes. Very interesting, as always, talking with you. What's your message to the people of Anambra State? As we said, it's not campaigning season yet, but in the context of the discussion, what is your message to them?
Anambra people, we deserve better. We honestly can change our trajectory by decisions we're going to make in the next couple of months and years. And we should honestly, at all times, anytime it comes to issue of leadership, look for character. Character competence, capacity, look for making sure that right processes are adhered to so that we can come out stronger and also be strategic in our thinking. Anambra's election 2025 has a lot to do for how Nigeria pushes further, and we've got to be strategic. I don't want to say more than this, but I have decided to sacrifice everything that I have to providing that leadership. And this is why I am engaging with a lot of people, so letting them know that I may not have all it takes, but I have the listening ability so that when we then come together in a room, we are totally complete in taking the right decision.
And would you say that things, your perspective and the way that you approached politics has changed from when you ran the last time?
Totally. One is I've been consistent in being a non-transactional politician. That's one I want to pride myself, and that's why we get along well, P2B and I. Because politics, the only time you can really play well is when you play from a patriotic, good citizen point of view, not from a selfish or a tribal perspective. And so that remains, and that's even stronger in belief. After what we went through in 2023, my commitment to this is stronger. And guess what? I can tell you that the first attempt was a learning curve. Today, if you conduct any poll in Anambra State, it will shock you. It tells you we are better positioned to making sure we do the right thing and get Anambra people happier than they are today.